using the NCSA L1 test stand, which we provide exercises at before for working on automated testing, so we can pass through these exercises. We can then script them and then run them in situ on the test stand without hardware, but at least giving us an idea that if we are doing updates to our software, that we don't break what we've done before. And then again, following on from that, this is how to tighten up our deployment issues, since we're having to deal with those even pains at the same time, how we get that system in place.
I'm Jerry Miller with the Closeout group. I'm a mechanical engineer. My breakout session, I present the testing of the tank load units of the control system, and present an overview of the control system, which basically consists of 96 tank load units, which are a fan heat exchanger that uses the release of water to deliver conditioned air to 1,600 airport. I presented a status of functional testing of the tank load units, and this is a individual functional test of each individual unit, not the overall system level test of the control system. And the current status is that the test setup exists. We've been testing, but there's some software that we're still developing. It should be ready tasks that we do. And then also they're going to be testing the thermal inlet controllers along with the tank load units. So there was some discussion of concerns about implementation of control strategy. We discussed that. Agreed on a third path forward.
Okay, this is an opportunity. If you're next, please come on up. If you have any breakout on Tuesday, stand at the ready. You're all coming up. Yeah, go first.
I'm Diego, the scheduler scientist inside Joseph site. On Tuesday, we have the scheduler service strategy meeting. We discussed some plans for the scheduler, future plans for the scheduler development. Some of the operation modes. The scheduler right now is being used mainly only for simulations, and that's going to change pretty soon. So we have some operation readiness to do on the scheduler part. We are working on that. I had some discussions on how to operate the scheduler during commissioning and regular operations. We showed that adoption of the new scheduler algorithm, the feature-based scheduler. You can see this picture here is a snapshot of how the feature-based scheduler selects the next targets. It has the features. These features to compute the reward functions, combine the reward functions into a reward map, and then selects the highest reward. We then discussed some use case for the scheduler during commissioning. For the auxiliary telescope, ComCam, and of course the main camera. We had Keith from Civil Engineering presented a couple of slides with some ideas for mini surveys with ComCam and then the main camera. And discussing what the scheduler team has to develop to support those reports during commissioning. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
I'm from Duke University, and I work in the gas and commissioning team. And we had a session on Tuesday morning, and it was focused on, it was a joint meeting between people from the camera team, systems engineering, simulations, and DM. And we're in a period now where we're doing a lot of work, where we're taking data on test stands at Slack and Brookhaven, and there's information that's coming out of it, and especially for instrument signature removal, we need to understand exactly what those parameters are, work together closely with DM, and also put those same parameters into the simulations. So it requires a lot of communication between these groups. And so the main purpose of this session was to figure out how we can work more effectively together and transfer information between these teams. So we had a very packed schedule. We heard about sort of the status of the focal tank construction with a focus on especially what was happening with sensors. And then we heard about what the camera IMT team will be presenting and making available to everybody else in the project. And we heard about sensor and readout effects that we're basically not handling yet, we should think about. And then we switched to hearing from DM, and we heard about what the plans were in DM for signature removal. Then we talked about those effects and how we were simulating them in InStem and what we were doing to validate those. So we've been trying to make a validated sensor model, and we're trying to build documentation so anybody can go and look at it. And then we heard about how to make some of those corrections that for things like red fat that we knew about. And there are some students from universities who are at Slack now helping with this effort, and they talk about the work they're doing in characterization, Slack, working with Aaron Rudman, and how they're trying to apply the EM algorithms to do this work. So it's a very good session for us to get started talking to each other. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rob, and I'm the telescope site software test engineer. I took a session to talk a little bit about what I do and the tools that I use. First thing I did was introduce the team. You're looking at it. I then talked a little bit about the methods and strategies, some of the processes I use to do the testing. I actually wrote a document, so I didn't spend a lot of time on that, just kind of point out some of those topics. And then took some time to examine two of the tools that I use day to day. Robot Framework is an automated testing tool, and make heavy use of Jenkins for continuous integration. Actually took a lot of time and did a deep dive on analyzing the test results that come out of these tools, just to help provide people an opportunity to learn how to read those results, which can be a little daunting if you're not familiar with them. Presented a little bit on current status and future goals for testing, and then requested more feedback and interaction, because my whole job is to provide data to the team to use to assess the quality, and that testing and that data is only as good as the feedback I get. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sully, the Systems Engineering Manager, and I'm speaking on behalf of Austin Roberts, who ran this session but is not here on site today. And this session provided an overview of the software tooling that we put in place and the general overall architecture for our verification tooling that we're going to be using in commissioning, and most of the subsystems are adopting as well. And so the intent of this session was not just to provide this overview, it was really to go ahead and demo it with some examples and work through really how you would put information into this tool. And then a couple of the commissioning sessions later on Tuesday, as well as on Wednesday, that this tooling was used to develop actual real content. During those sessions, we were accepting feedback, and we will continue to do that. So if there's anybody that continues to use this, please contact Austin and myself and let us know. But much of the feedback that we've received this week, we've already actually incorporated into the tooling, and the updates are there, including adding these additional fields with additional data into what you see in the jury tape. So again, if anybody has feedback, just please let us know.
Tuesday and throughout this week, the administrative assistants from the north and south discussed some differences in processes administratively, and we found some areas of improvement and developed some action plans, amongst them regarding reimbursements, procurement and licenses, travel to Chile and the summit and requirements to do that, communication, compliance, and calendaring. And I was asked to say there's a new Google Calendar for commissioning. And we also discuss our team's vision and mission statements, which are a working draft. I appreciate everyone who attended our session and helped us with that, implementing some plans of action. That's it, thank you.
So hi, I'm Lynn Jones. I'm the LSST performance scientist. These days, most of that performance has to do with understanding the survey strategy. So on Tuesday afternoon, we had a workshop on the observing strategy white papers. So there's been a call for white papers on the LSST survey strategy. You can see the URL there. The deadline is in November. This session was intended to be more, let's answer questions about the process for the white paper, call for white papers. Let's try and get people talking to each other, answer any questions about runs or anything that people might have. There were also 3 other sessions focused on the survey strategy, like details of the survey strategy, what the cadence might be, that you'll hear about later from other people. I would just like to make sure people understand that we released 11 simulated surveys with the white paper, and since then we've added 4 new runs. We'll probably add a few more runs before the deadline in November, and at the same time we're moving to the feature-based scheduler. Please use LSST community to talk to us and to each other. I think that's it would be really nice to leverage that forum so that we can get more group discussion of what's going on.
I'll present for James Howard, who presented overview status and schedule for ComCam. And we had a particular discussion on what needs to happen in Tucson, both in the integration activities and then the entry conditions on when to actually ship to Chile, and then develop a working plan on what actual activities are going to take place in Tucson, whether we can move things earlier or later in the schedule, perhaps things happening in Slack can happen in Tucson instead, and then also we fielded some questions from the community. We had a nice audience and good discussion. So.
I'm Rachel Gill, and I attended a session that Amanda Bauer gave on science communication and media training. We had nearly 20 people in that session, where we learned how to give great presentations and interviews, and learned that it's really important to have a big story when you're going to give a talk, whether it's an interview or a presentation. And the story to have analogies with what you're trying to explain. So complicated concepts like how many corgis you can fit in a camera would help. So when you're talking to the press, generally they want very engaging stories. You need to give out some emotion and generally very good pictures to them. Recording yourself and then watching yourself to try and get rid of bad habits is a really good way to get rid of tics and clicks and things that you might be doing that you don't really realise. And it's okay not to have all the answers when somebody asks you during a Q&A session or even during an interview. It's okay to say, that's not my area, or I'll get back to you. And practice, 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 and out loud, and that's the way to make yourself better. Thank you.
Same as everybody.
This was not my session, and I don't know who was lined up to give the slide, but I can make a quick comment. This was a session in the afternoon to talk about cadences, deep drilling locations, and mini surveys. So some of the details of the survey strategy that are up for feedback in the call for white papers. We discussed what was going on with the current survey strategies that have already been released, and looked at the question of, do you want visits to be in the same pair, or the visits that are in the same night to be in the same filter or different filters? And maybe there are compromises between these different science pieces. So for example, what if you did visit pairs in different filters near the galactic plane and away from the galactic plane in the same pair? The same pair is useful for solar system objects because then you don't have the problem that one of your observations has a higher limiting magnitude than the other. and maybe you do rolling cadences some years, but not other years. So this was a useful session to get feedback for us going forward to make some new example runs before the deadline for white papers and for people to be able to talk to each other about different options for the cadence.
Hello everybody, I'm Jacques Sebag, I'm the AV manager for the telescope on site. We have a nice group of people that came up for this session. Basically started by giving an overview of the telescope on site AIV. Starting by our team, we have approximately 11 people here. I don't know if they are in the room, so I put a picture of them. It's if you're going to come to Chile, it was an opportunity for all of you to meet some of these people who will be there. We also talk about the schedule. The AIB schedule is driven by a lot of the deliveries of the large components that we're expecting to build the telescope. I talk about how I built our organization of the assembly, integration, and verification phases. We have a set of what we call builds, and if you're interested, I have a document that describes that in details. And at the end, we talked about some of the key parameters we have to measure on the telescope before we deliver to commissioning. That overview was followed by an open discussion. A lot of aspect of that discussion was related to safety, which is very critical right now because we have people working at very height building the dome, and we want to make sure we don't have any accident. Thank you very much.
Michael Rodriguez, in System Engineering. This session was to provide an overview and status of the computerized maintenance management system. I like to call it just maintenance management system because everything's computerized nowadays. The current status is that the requirements and the specifications are still being developed. We need some discussions, some working group type of environments, guidance from management on the scope of the implementation that we're planning, and to highlight that the system will be implemented in some fashion, even if it's an ad hoc fashion, and this will determine the deliverables, the state of the deliverable we have in operations. And if you weren't able to see the presentation, please view the slides, and I'm available for any questions or discussions. Thank you.
Steve Ridgway for a couple of cadence sessions. Some bullets, cadence-related bullets for your cadence consciousness raising. I know you won't read them later, so let's read them now. 2 15-second integrations and a visit. Let's move on to using one visit, one 30-second integration per visit in operations. Non-standard or variable visit integration times can be powerful, deserves a hearing. Look to address it in the white papers that are coming out. It's very science specific. The schedule can be driven to achieve certain uniformities on certain time scales. For example, good quality imaging in a certain filter over the entire sky within the first year, or second year, so on. Can be valuable or even essential, but it's potentially costly reading specific goals, strategies, and simulations to sort that out. The wide, fast, deep area definition. Look at revisiting it to consider changes, increasing the total sky area, increasing the science return. Look in coming white papers for that. You're talking about efficiency, it's easy to say 1%. Just remember 1% here. Remember, every percent is an exciting mini survey, either won or lost. About the private amount of pool dead ends. But we have another session in the afternoon, we'll be back at 5.
Hello, I'm Josh Myers. I work on PSF estimation for data management. So we had a session on Wednesday morning where we had 4 talks and lots of discussion. So Tony Tyson told us something about sensor effects and their effect on PSF electricity, including one effect that I haven't seen before, and how you can potentially mitigate the effect on your science through intelligent observing strategy. We had another talk by Brian Bauman on double Zernike and nodal aberration theory. So this is an analytic formalism to help you understand what happens to your point spread function when, say, an optic is misaligned or tilted. And then we had two talks on ongoing PSF modeling efforts from precursor surveys. So Aaron Rudman for DES and myself for HyperSat and I would say the main thing that I appreciated there was just being able to have a group of experts from the different surveys all in the same room at the same time to have high bandwidth conversation. I think was extremely valuable. We were able to discuss some of the relative merits of different modeling choices that we've made or been thinking of making, and this inspired many follow-up conversations.
I'm Chuck Laver, assistant scientist. So I actually have two charts. I violated the rules, but I think I can do that case. We're basically representing 4 sessions that were held this week on verification planning. The commissioning and system engineering team is shifting gears from review preparations to actually getting down to the business of designing and engineering our verification plans. So these 4 sessions were very similar in objectives, and it was basically to educate members of our team on the use of tools that Brian referred to for implementing the verification architecture. We had a lot of discussion to better understand and clarify the scope of what detailed verification planning is. The science verification planning sessions Tuesday spent a lot of time on this item too. It took a while for us all collectively to put our heads around it, but I think at the end of the day, it worked out well. And then as we were planning our verification activities, started identifying personnel roles and locations where these things were going to go. So those were our objectives. What did we actually achieve? It was well attended. We had 20 to 30 active participants in each session. We reviewed resources for how to define verification test cases. As Brian mentioned, as we went through this, we found some holes in our workflow and processes, so we identified action items for improving them. Reviewed the methodology and architecture, terminology, and nomenclature, and we did this by practice, actually trying to do it. And then both Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon, we had effectively verification hack sessions where we broke up into approximately 5 groups each time, and we worked in real time to develop the content of verifications for a select number of requirements. Which were each one of these are the ones we worked on, and this development was captured in our Jira verification tickets as part of our design.
I'm Suzanne Jacoby. I'm now the senior consultant for communications, working part-time. And I'm going to tell you about this meeting that we had, the communications office update that was organized by Breakout. First of all, we had a good attendance. We had 25 people in the room, including Jelko Isaac and David McFarlane were among the crowd. We had presentations from 4 partners. Those partners included the Tucson-based project office, communications team, SLAC, IN2P3 in France, and 2 representatives from the NCSA team. Each of those partners put a presentation together, kind of covering common ground, how their communication departments are structured, what they're up to, what their partner's role is within LSST. And those presentations are all online and worth taking a look at to see how everyone works. Then we had great discussion, trying to identify common issues, ways that we can leverage each other's efforts to maximize exposure of the project, communication. Some of the topics that were discussed included the fact that the camera team itself is distributed, and should that all be coordinated through Slack as a single entity? Do we deal with people individually? the need for a shared repository so we can gather and disseminate this story of LSST and the webdam facility that's being built up through the project offices being more widely used and being very helpful there. We had concerns about branding, consistency among branding as we talk about LSST now, and concerns about branding as things will change in the future. Nice discussion there, and then also the best ways for communications to communicate with each other and within their organization. And we had 5 solid outcomes from this session. The first one was this annual get-together, face-to-face get-together with these partner representatives. It's very, very valuable. First time we're going to do it every year. We're going to start quarterly meetings virtually. Got a Slack channel set up so we can communicate in that way among ourselves. Each of those project offices does a milestone plan, more or less, and we're going to start sharing those more widely, coordinating and looking for those opportunities to leverage our efforts. And very specifically, we'll be coordinating conference presences in the future more closely, coming up with a supercomputing conference that is November 2018 in Dallas, and NCSA and IM2P3 are already planning to join us.
Thank you. I have one more of these after this one. So on Wednesday morning, we had a pipeline development cadence optimization session for solar system science. There were 2 solar system sessions. I'll be back in a minute to talk about the second one. Here it was more presentations from the project a little bit to the group. We talked about an overview of the LSST solar system processing pipelines, the review of the data products and timescales. We introduced this plan to talk about to adopt the MPC catalog as the basis for the daily orbit catalog. And clearly not enough solar system community people were in the room because nobody yelled about it. So we're talking about this in depth with the Solar System Science Collaboration, so that's fun. The details of this plan, the LSST MPC joint plan, are still under discussion. More work is definitely needed. Then we had a discussion about OPSIM, math, metrics, and how to do cadence evaluation. So I showed the results of all these different simulations that we have so far and what the effect on discovery rate is. And this is the math metrics for solar system objects are something that was introduced relatively recently, and we talked about this in depth at the Solar System Science Collaboration Sprint in July that was held at UW, and it's gaining a lot of speed. I think it'll be really useful, and so this is how we are looking at evaluating OPSIM runs for solar system objects. We definitely have more things to think about and evaluate.
Back again with more cadence bullets. Okay, universal survey is dead. Long-lived rolling cadences. Rolling cadences are incredibly powerful. They deserve non-advocate study. In addition to advocacy, the advocates will take care of themselves. Tiling. Consider random field centers night to night. A new idea that's very interesting and powerful. Spatial dithering. Yes, by all means. Large amplitude and random works. Consider using the same dither for same night revisits. And maybe investigate annealed dithers at the region boundaries to avoid efficiency loss. Rotational dithering, yes, also. If pushed stringently, there may be an efficiency price. Really need simulation experience to minimize or understand that. And finally, a note of caution. Note the incredible shrinking observing season provoked by implementation of rolling cadences, which tend to pack sufficiently for a short time, and the trend to observe at transit for a benefit of image quality. If you're a fan of long observing seasons, keep your eye on the new baseline simulations that they come out.
I'm Ben Evans. I'm the EPO project manager. So we were able to host a EPO open house on Wednesday. And in addition to the live demo that Dr. Amanda Bauer promised in for Plenary, we we went over the results of the poll where we asked people to write in what they were interested about with EPO and what were some of the topics that they wanted to discuss. And 4 major themes came out of that. Surprisingly, corgis was not one of them. But the first one was cloud technology, in particular how to get more for free. I think that's everybody likes free, I guess. The second one was on the formal education side of things. For those who were able to attend the public discourse last night, Artist Harold was able to present and was wildly successful. We're very proud of her. We also talked a little bit internally about some of the challenges we've had with the Jupyter interface, in particular for the non-scientific audience, and how the default view is a little bit distracting and perhaps overwhelming for some of the younger students. And so the recommendation is, hey, if you want to see change, go to the source. And so JupyterCon is coming up. If anybody works with Jupyter or is interested in Jupyter, that's a conference you should be attending. Finally, second to last was design. Design is very, very important for us. Scientists are very patient. They'll come to the source because they know that's where the data is. Students and teachers and the general public, they have lots of options, and if it is interactive and fun and interesting and inspiring, they're going to move on. So design is very, very important for us, but we also have to be careful about our design and think about the broader topic of design in terms of the project and a step beyond. And then finally, there was discussion about the engineering aspects. I think so often we get caught up on the excitement of the science and the astronomy, but there's a whole lot of engineering, as you know, as part of this construction effort, in being able to capture some of the careers and the roles, to be able to inspire the rising generation in those fields, whereas maybe they're not looking to be an astronomer, but they can be inspired to be the next great engineer, whether that be mechanical, engineering, or electrical, or even software development, and other aspects of engineering. So lots of good discussion. Thanks for those who were able to attend, and if you have any other ideas and you weren't able to attend the session, please reach out to myself or Dr. Amanda Bauer. We'd be more than happy to talk. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Graham, and I'm here to present on behalf of all the unconference sessions. The unconference is like a do-it-yourself conference, and it's meant to fix the problem of when that organizing committee doesn't schedule the session that you want, or when something comes up at the last minute. So we had 5 people suggest topics for the unconference, with a couple more added at the last minute, which is exactly how an unconference is supposed to work. And so I just want to go over brief reports from each of them. The first is the low surface brightness observations. So they heard about scattered light tests and thought about image detection and how to pass ideas on to lead management. And the session organizer wants to tell you that the notes were all uploaded to the agenda, so it's public and you can go look at what they talked about. There was a session on instrument signature removal validation, and Merlin wants you to know that they met and discussed the status of ISR in the stack, both corrections and the creation of input data from the raw data. They say they made some progress in effectively improving knowledge transfer between various teams and people involved in camera construction, integration, testing, and commissioning. There's also a Cadence white paper planning session, which is summarized very nicely in this community post with the title, Let's Coordinate Observing Cadence White Papers. And so if you're working on one of those, please go take a look at this community posting and get involved if you would like. My particular interest was in Cadence for supernova physics studies. So we discussed things like light curve sampling to learn about explosion physics, such as shock breakout, and in particular how the DESC and the TDS science collaborations might collaborate on these particular white papers. And we were also preparing and deciding what we need to have ready for each other for an upcoming meeting in September. And then I think there were 2 more sessions on South Pole observations and commissioning observations. So overall, most of the feedback from the unconference was very positive. People who do attend say they have a good time and it's really useful. So if you didn't attend this year, maybe think about it for next year. And thank you to all session organizers and all participants in the unconference.
Okay, so we also had another session this year, similar to last year, to just provide the opportunity to discuss what structured assignments might look like for people going to Chile. And so we went through once again sort of the differences in the sort of time scales that might be involved between just a short business trip and what that means, short-term assignments, long-term assignments, what relocation benefits there might be, what that might mean for each individual person. We did talk about a little bit of the questions that came up last year, but really this provided an opportunity just to get some feedback from what people are interested in, what they're worried about, what they're thinking about. And so the resources document 28242 is available to you if you're thinking about short-term assignments. That's a good place to go. Rampal is doing a really great job trying to keep up with sort of the ongoing rules, regulations, and ideas for how we will manage all that. And then also this web page is also available to the entire team to get some of those resources. And what we did once again reveal to ourselves, something that many of us know, is that we really have to have conversations with individuals about what it means, what's the timing for your particular endeavor, and what's the right time, and what is exactly your particular circumstance when it comes down to going to the site to support the immigration commissioning and testing.
Alright, so I'm John Swinbank from Data Management, and I chaired a session on Thursday morning about the Front Products Database. So the Front Products Database is a key aspect of the alert production system, that is kind of where we have the science pipelines and the database directly talking to each other in a real-time loop of actually producing alerts. So we had a session to kind of identify and plan to resolve the performance interface issues between the database and the pipeline codes. We heard from Eric Brown, who gave us a quick introduction so that everybody was kind of on the same page. And then we heard from Andy Salnikov, who's working on the database aspect of this, and Chris Morrison, who's working on the pipeline design aspect of it. So they kind of presented where we've got to so far, and then that segued into a discussion about the science requirements for what happens when things get out of order, and what happens and what can we do in terms of preloading the database results in order to improve performance when we get image data, and a bunch of requirements to the programming interfaces that we'll use to connect these things together. Thank you.
Okay, so Chris again. So on Thursday, Simon, Rudolph, Gregory, Ross Feldman, Keith Beckel, and I put together a session to try to make a presentation to the whole LSST community on what sort of visualization tools would be available for people to use, both general tools and sort of pipelines, ecosystem that we use, and all the specific tools for LSST. So first of all, Simon did a really nice job of going through this PyBiz system, and he sort of gave us just very quick overviews of all of the different tools in this ecosystem that are available for people to use. And Keith actually showed us a really nice example of using some of these tools where he took the Gaia data set and was able to make selections on the fly with really, really huge data sets and make some very, very nice plots. And so if you go to the session page that's on the agenda, there are links to some of the notebooks and things that are shown. And then we also saw some specific LSST tools. Like we had a demonstration of Firefly. We talked about how we can use that and what that brought to people, especially in the context of the LSST science platform. And then we asked for people from the audience and from the community to show us demos that they thought were useful to the rest of LSST, which might have been developed in other contexts. So there were several of them. This is one that I just picked out. It's interesting. This is something that originally came from DES and has been ported to the desk. So this is a image viewer. It's used in DES to look at data coming off the camera for people to flag issues and build databases to look at data quality. And we changed it so that we can actually look at the simulations that are coming out of the desk from our data challenges. So this is a simulation of processed VM data that came from an instant run. Here you see the full focal plane, and here you see a zoom in on one of the sensors, and anyone can log in and use this at NERSC. And we also saw some examples from DTF and some other work that people have done inside that. So I think it was a really fun and interesting session for today. Thank you.
No, I'm done now, after this one. So there was another solar system session on Thursday, preparing to do solar system science with LSST. The LSST Solar System Science Collaboration has made a lot of strides in the last year or so. We've written a science roadmap that's been published on Archive. The next steps are working on the Cadence white papers and software development roadmap detail paper. In particular, the Solar System Science Collaboration is very interested in the North Ecliptic Spur. So if your science also depends on the North Ecliptic Spur, we'd very much like to talk to you and touch base on that. Then we had an overview of the solar system science tool development. So this is we're thinking about how we want to supplement the LSST solar system objects with information that we provide. So for example, LSST will calculate phase curves for objects, but we may want to calculate our own versions of phase curves or multiple versions of phase curves so that we can understand light curves and just how the objects are varying in their brightness in other ways as well. We want to identify common needs so that we can avoid redundant effort and free time to work on more interesting science. This is part of the reason we're working on that software development roadmap. Scientist funding is an issue, both to support time spent on LSST prep and travel to things like the project community workshop. So, key priorities is the white papers, finalizing the new MOPS schema, so basically feedback to LSST on what the solar system object database and catalog database should look like, and then software white papers for figuring out
Alright, so this session was actually a recap of a very broad ASP workshop this summer. So that the recap and summary and discussion here was also similarly broad. And we started off with a discussion for me about COAS, different types of COAS, and how we might use COAS in places we weren't originally anticipating. This was sort of the very beginning of the perfect pixels part of it. One of the other big discussions that happened at the original ASP workshop about pixels was about Plenary, but of course there was a whole bunch of workshops, so we didn't cover that too much in this section. Tim Eifler led a discussion and talked about theoretical uncertainties or astrophysics from being able to come up with correct matrices for cosmological analysis, and making progress on how which systematics are important to marginalize over, which ones are not, and how you go about that process with it being a very high-dimensional orbital problem. Then finally, we had a discussion led by Eric Huff about tension metrics. When two different surveys or experiments disagree on something, how do we know when this is something meaningful? How do we know that this is something we should go back to look at our systematics more closely? And what kind of dangers are there for doing that versus in terms of what you might miss in terms of actual physics, what you might be led to agree more than you would expect to, and we sort of touched on finding a little bit there as well. That's about it.
I'm presenting this one on behalf of Eric Bellum, who couldn't be here. So in Plans and Policies for LSST Alert Distribution, Eric presented an overview of the LSST alert stream, which is a powerful real-time view of the dynamic sky, but requires downstream tools to identify objects of interest. So this session was mainly directed at the science community. We discussed capabilities and limitations of the LSST mini broker, and also described the draft policies to guide selection of the community brokers, which will be released later this year. Then we had a nice discussion about alerts, and this particular session really set the stage for another alert-related talk that I think Brian's going to tell you about in a minute.
So I'm still John Swinbank and I still work for DM. And the next section I'm going to tell you about is about DM middleware. So when we talk about middleware, we're talking about the kind of software that connects together our scientific algorithms and then defines their relationships to the underlying hardware which we're actually running them. And DM has been working with kind of small tiger team over the last year or so to do a big set of upgrades to the way that whole middleware fits together. And this was kind of the unveiling of that middleware to a bunch of the pipeline developers within DA and a bunch of others as well. And I think everybody was really impressed by this. Like the impression I got from all the pipeline developers who were in the room were that they were super excited about the new capabilities and the refinements that the new system is bringing to them. So very cool. And in particular, thanks to Jim Bosch and us who put together a really impressive set of demos and tutorials as to what's coming next. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Noel. I'm in Telescope and Society. On Thursday afternoon, we have a section of active optics. The goal is to coordinate work between construction of the active optics system, its validation of the active optics system, and the optimization of the algorithms needed to achieve the image quality requirement. And we discussed the debranding algorithm used in the background estimation pipeline. We discussed the detailed contents, the template definition for donor fitting, and how to handle the noise and how to do the optimization. We also have a conversation for the German filter, how to define the base strategy to include the visit history in each night. And we discussed the PSF application as a research project, and we plan to use the validation and the optimization tool contains the hosting of image scene. And if you are interested in this work, please send the email to Century. That's all. Thank you.
Morning, my name is Brian Miller from Germany Observatory. In this session, we went over ongoing work to handle and follow up LSST alerts. So starting on the left, we have alerts from various surveys, which are collected by software packages called brokers, which link the alerts with online catalogs, do classification, do filtering. And so we had talks about ongoing work to develop such a system, the Antares system at NOAO, and we heard the results of a broker survey to help feedback on requirements from the community. So the output from the brokers goes to three main science layer, these systems called target observation managers, which help science teams prioritize the alerts, decide what they want to observe, and send out observations to various telescopes that they have access to. So we saw some examples of working toms, and we got an update on a project by Las Cumbres Observatory to develop a toolkit so that any science team can easily put these packages together. Then the observatories need to be able to accept these observations, schedule them, and put them on the telescopes, and get the data back to the scientists. So we've heard about an ongoing effort, collaboration between the Aura centers, Tololo, NOAO, Gemini, and the Las Cumbres Observatory to put together such a system and get telescopes like Gemini and Tololo, SOAR actively scheduled. Finally, there's some ongoing data reduction work on Python for spectroscopic real-time reduction. And then tying it all together, we heard about the ongoing ZTF survey, which is generating alerts right now, and how all these various teams are using those alerts to test various prototypes of these systems. And to get more information, please see that URL where the presentations are stored. Thank you.
So I'm Michael Ruder. I'm filling in for Mike Huffer on this one. So this was talking about the full-scale DAC delivery to NCSA and how to turn this into something that the project at large might be able to use. So Mike started off by giving a presentation of the current schedule and deliveries for both the DAC hardware and software upgrades that we'll be receiving with this new system, including the emulation for simulated image emulation. Then Jim Parsons gave a nice overview of the back supporting hardware for the NCSA system for all of the processing that they'll do. And then I presented the early integration activities, use cases for the system, since I've been very interested in it and proving out the various tasks and the exercises that we have. So the highlights from the discussion were basically that the DAC system, the full-scale DAC system delivered to NCSA is on track for delivery. We talked a bit about the image emulation and what we could do with that, and there's some work to be done about making sure that we have some infrastructure in place to make use of that. We agreed that this would be just a natural extension of the Pathfinder exercises, and similar to the group stuff would be in camera, or we very interested in having the systems happening for the camera at that point. And we just said that systems engineering will continue to shepherd the process as part of the early integration activities.
So before we go to the Friday ones, because they're a little bit mixed up, because they just happened a few an hour ago. Also on Thursday, let me just take this moment to thank Phil Marshall and Artis for doing a great job last night. In addition, the whole communications team, Rampal and Suzanne in particular, for really getting the word out and getting a great participation. I think we guessed that about 350 people came, and so that was really a good interaction with the community, and I'm sure they all appreciate it. So thanks again for getting that word out, doing all the setup and IT as well. There's a lot of work that goes into those things, and we really appreciate everybody putting in the extra effort. Because this was only an hour or two ago, I'm guessing that some of these things are going to be empty. Screen if you have something updated that you want to say anyway, even though there's no slide. Right. That's why I'm expecting you to stand up and scream if there's a reload. Hearing none, truck flavor.
So this was a little informal gathering of the commissioning team to review the results from our recent CD2-like review. We started this session because it conflicted with the Code of Conduct review. We had Rand Powell come in and talk to us for about 5 or 10 minutes about Code of Conduct, reminding us all that commissioning ramps up and things get a little crazy, tensions are going to get tight, tempers are going to get short, and we just have to keep in mind to stay professional, to stay polite, and keep it good. So, during these review outbreaks, we typically sit there stone-faced without comment, so we took this opportunity for the team to review the comments that we got from the committee and kind of assessed amongst ourselves about whether we had any internal action items that we wanted to take from those comments. So we discussed that, and then we also discussed initial formal responses to the recommendations we got. We didn't get very many, so that was a rather short conversation. But it was a good session, and then we just spent another 15, 20 minutes bantering around sort of next steps for the commissioning team going forward.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris Montgomery. I'm the training coordinator here, and something non-sciencey we did in this session was an LSST Code of Conduct workshop. We were talking about how we ensure LSST can stay inclusive and collaborative in this environment and in high-pressure environments. And so we took a look at the documents that are currently available, and some of the feedback that we received is that there are many codes of conduct that apply to LSST, and it would be good to centralize these. We actively participated in activities to collect more feedback, and we'll have some next step processes to go through that feedback and see what we can do. And if you want to follow what we're going to do with this material, you can join the Slack channel LSST2018 COC. Thank you.
I'm still working for DM, so change that. I'm kind of sad though that Linda present more summaries than I did. So I'm just going to tell you about the DM hack sessions. This was actually going on all week. It was a kind of a chance for DM developers and anyone else who was interested to work together to address some cross-team issues. Since they're usually dispersed across the country, this gave us a chance to get together and solve some cross-team problems. There were lots of kind of fun and useful projects done over the course of the week. I've listed a bunch of them here, which I'm not going to read you, but you can read them yourselves and see countless people to learn more if you're interested. I would add there's also a bunch of other things that were going on all over the place that I probably didn't manage to catch up with or just forgot to add to the slide. So it was a really productive week. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Barr, architect with the Telescope and Site Group. Actually, got this slide out of place when we did our breakout session yesterday. Internet technology is not just screen, sort of screen interface getting the slides. Anyway, we had a really useful impromptu session yesterday at 3:30 with the folks who were here from Palo Alto and some folks that were from Chile. You can see some of the people that participated in the meeting yesterday. And it's all about, you've seen we built the building, but there's still a lot of work yet to be done to make it usable and put it in its final improved format. And some of the things that we have, one of the things that in particular that we have to do is improve the areas for the camera, the white room, clean room, staging and prep areas, and now also an additional refrigeration room that we're building in the first floor of the summit facility. And you can see kind of interestingly here, we're still referring and usefully during the meeting yesterday to everything from ICDs, which is the drawing on the farthest left, to as-built plans, the AutoCAD plan that we see in the lower section, the actual artifact, the building that has been built and the spaces within it, and we're still doing modeling. And so all of that is still coming together to pull together a space that will be usefully utilized by the community. And the items that we touched on in particular were the electrical requirements. We're still working out how to provide the outlets and other connections that they need. Moving the window that you can see in the white room there is going to be turned into a door, another man door into the white room to the clean room. How they're still working out how they're going to use the specific spaces. As I say, we've added a refrigeration room and of course network requirements. All of the people that we had there up from Chile and from Palo Alto were really helpful. That's what these things are all about, is pulling this whole thing together in preparation for these, which is visiting.
So as a new element of the Project and Community Workshop, this year we had 19 undergraduates arrive on Sunday afternoon, and Monday morning we went to the Mirror Lab for a fantastic tour given by Buddy Martin. They did poster pitches at the Monday Plenary. Some of you were here for that, and they did a really excellent job on that. Then there was a poster session. We had career advising breakfast, 2 of those, and 1 dinner, where they met with the SAC, with various scientists and engineers, and with graduate students. And 2 student-focused sessions that Gordon Richards and myself prepared for them so that they could understand what we were talking about in the workshop. This was all supported by the LSST Corporation for a pretty minimal cost per student, about $1,200 including travel. And the informal feedback we've received so far is extremely positive. The only problem was that on Tuesday night, just before the reception, a couple of them came up to us and said, can we possibly stay longer? Because they were so disappointed that they had to leave the next morning. So I said, here's that feedback. So we'll be doing a survey just for them to get feedback. I think we should try to turn this pilot program into a tradition. Unfortunately, at this point, there's no definitive funding for continuing the Enabling Science call for the fall. And so this is a fundraising, let's not say challenge, let's say opportunity, because I think people love to give for things related to students, so let's turn it into an opportunity.
So I'm Kristen Metzger, Science Writer for EPO and Communications, and at the beginning of the
conference, I invited people, well, actually on Wednesday, invited people to participate in the Storytime domain, where we talked to people about their experience with LSST, what they're excited about. We interviewed 21 people, which is more than I thought we would, which is fantastic. So I want to thank everybody who participated. I learned some really interesting things about a lot of you, and it was a great experience for me. I thank Emily for running the video for that, and other EPO team members, Claudia and Ellen, who helped doing some of the interviews. And then I also want to say that we'll be doing this again at future meetings. If you didn't have a chance to participate, you will. For those of you who work in Tucson, we can certainly arrange to do these types of stories at our building. And if you have an interest in it and didn't get the opportunity to sign up, please feel free to reach out to me or the EPO team and let us know, and we'll be happy to help. So thanks very much.
Okay, so as you know, we had a workshop on the impact of learning on LSST science, and we thought that it would be more useful for you if we had a synthesis of the whole workshop rather than going session by session. So I'm going to give that synthesis. Because it's relevant to the project and community workshop, I thought I'd just briefly say what the history of this blending workshop ending up here, how this happened. So as a follow-up to blending discussions last year, Sarah Bruff from Australia, who's at Galaxies, was put in touch with me and David Kirkby, who are co-convening a desk blending task force. So we put together a multi-science collaboration science organizing committee, applied for LSSTC support. We got about $25,000, which allowed us to bring 14 graduate students and postdocs here. So I think a much larger representation of junior members than we've had in the past, and 11 senior scientists who would not have been able to come here without the travel support or partial support. And then we approached Beth and Ron Paul, and the rest was history. So did it work as a joint workshop? Absolutely yes. We had very relevant DM and Scarlet expertise here. So Jim Bosch could tell us about the pipeline, plans, and flexibility or not. Also the catalog of what is planned and what's flexible there. And then Peter and Fred, this new multi-band, the blender that they've been writing. A lot of science collaborations had never heard of it, now they're aware of it, and we can start to become thinking about testing it. Very broad range of science collaborations were represented, and the funding was really important. This I'm not going to go over, but basically we had goals, come up with, identify the figures of merit, metrics, do they exist, evaluate them, what tools and data products are missing, what are the requirements on these metrics for the different science cases. And you saw some shots like this, but this shows the diversity of blending challenges within LSST. From on the left, the very deep fields where it'll be 40 galaxies per square arc minute. Okay? That's a close-up of what they look like from the in the middle images on the ground on the left, and then space on the right, and you can see these things sort of blended together. Star clusters, and then comets that move across and become blended. So blending affects all science collaborations. What are the outcomes of the workshop? So we had scribe notes for every one of the 8 sessions. So there's 17 pages of Google Docs for us to synthesize. We had a tutorial that was developed for this, so 2 different Jupyter notebooks so that people can start running Scarlet and run it with source detection and measurement in DM, but do blending with Scarlet. And that tutorial will now live on. And many thanks to Adam Thornton and Square for setting up the notebook environment during that session. This is not really for you, it's more for the attendees. But basically, this is different science collaborations. In our last closeout, we had the different science cases grouped together. So there's pictures on the top. The left is 2-point correlation functions, and the right is galaxies and AGN. And basically, they were asked particular questions like, what impacts of blending affect their science? Is it detection of objects, the deblending of the fluxes and the pixels, or measurements? And the answer is almost all of the above. Then figures of merit for impacts, have people identified them yet and quantified them? Mostly not, okay, but now they're really thinking about it seriously. And useful data sets, do people want real data, simulations, or something called object injections, which I'll just mention briefly later because that really came out strongly. And the answer is often all of the above. There's a strong desire for cross-science collaboration, communication, and sharing of, here I list already available resources. So there's not a lot of politics involved in sharing it. It's more just getting places and people aware of it. So we'd like to use the new redesign of the science collaboration pages that LSSTC is sponsoring to document existing tools, data sets, et cetera, that will be useful to all science collaborations. For communication options, we have a desk blending Slack channel, but we'd like to change that into an LSST blending so that everyone feels welcome to post their about science collaboration. And then we could think about whether we should be using LSST community better. We have about 25 presentations already recorded by Zoom in Zoom, 1-hour presentations for the desk blending task force. So with permission of presenters, we've already made most of those public. So we'll try to continue to do that. And then there are a lot of tools that are already open source and well documented that people can use. They just need to be more aware of it. So we'll try to gather that together. Then there are public data sets with catalogs. That takes more curating. Here's some, on the left, actually both of these, some slides, images from a presentation by Harry Ferguson. And what this shows you on the left, isn't that an amazing image? So that is the Cosmos HST sample image and the Canvas survey on the field of view of LSST. And so these catalogs, unfortunately, are very limited in size, but they're still useful, but we need to curate and share those catalogs across the science collaborations. Harry also mentioned on the right, this is the Frontier Fields, HST. And so this field is like a fantastic field on the right for exercising and challenging your blending code or your deblending code. It's got everything in there, including intercluster light, arcs, extended objects, all kinds of stuff. In terms of outcomes, other things people would like to share, now we're getting into more difficult territory as to how do you actually share this. Training and test sets. So the wish list, nobody says wish list because we know that we haven't worked out how we would do this. The top one is fine, simulated postage stamps with truth, etc. We are already on the way to doing that. The second one, simulated objects injected into HSC images and run through DM processing. That takes more coordination. And I'll show you an image for that on the next one to see what that is. And then the desk is starting to prepare over the next year and define what we're calling Data Challenge 3. It'll be bigger volumes, improved realism, and specific science questions that could be addressed. So whether that could be something that could serve other science collaborations as well, but then storing that data and giving access to everybody would be an issue to be overcome. And also, science collaborations would like to share near-term goals that are on a timeline consistent with the DM schedule for developing this multi-band blender named Scarlet, and for object detection, this thing I keep referring to. So what's object detection? So the Dark Energy Survey already does something like this. It's called Balrog, and there's a similar tool that HSC, the Hypers Prime Cam, has developed called SynPipe, and DM, according to Javash, will be implementing this in roughly the next 6 months. So this, for example, is a DES image, and so I'll blink back and forth. So there we go. Yeah, so if I blink back and forth, that's the original image, and watch, there are some new things that have appeared in it. Okay? So new objects. So those are simulated objects embedded in the raw data and then passed through the whole DM. So you can then see the impact of realistic objects on objects for which you know the truth. Then finally, outcomes. Another outcome is future workshop ideas. Machine learning has been coming up a lot in the workshop for classification, deblending, and something called generative models. You may have seen this in the press, where they can train on celebrity faces and then generate fake celebrity faces. Okay, so and we know about those images. Also, morphometrics workshop, so morphology metrics. Hack sprint with specific data sets and goals. When and where, probably appending it to another meeting. So for example, the LSST desk meeting, or maybe LSST in Asia. So a lot of machine learning stuff came up, and I mentioned generative models. And so words that go with that are things like GANs and VAEs and things like this. And you're wondering, what is that? So actually, just last night, someone sent me a paper, and they moved beyond generating celebrity faces, and now they're generating and looking at corgis. Okay, and this is actually a paper from last month, okay? And so with these adversarial networks, it's like, can you tell the difference, like adversarial, between bread on the top and corgis? And so this paper was about how, you really need to make the fake corgis look more like bread. So that's the middle column, okay, where you see the corgis on the right in the middle row, look much more like bread. Okay, so that's going to be better for the tree. Or in the bottom, you got to make your bread look like a corgi and not look so much like bread. So now why would my son be pointing me to this? It's basically because my other son has a corgi. So anytime corgis show up, including machine learning, he sends it to me. And a few months ago, we had just purchased a new backpack, and it was a 46-liter Osprey. And right away we looked at it, and the first thought was, that's about the size of the corgi. And we put the corgi in, so that's my son. And so an adult corgi, we heard earlier about corgi puppies, an adult corgi is about 46 liters. And there's the shot. Okay, that's it.
Okay, so as we have done pretty much every all-hands since 2005, a hardy group of people gets up in the wee hours of the morning and goes out and plays soccer. You see them here. We had a great turnout this year, 20 plus people every day. Very happy that 3 women joined us, and they turned out to be some of the better players out there. We had pretty balanced teams. Only a few games were decided by more than 1 goal. Once again, a great success reflective of the diversity of LSST and the determination and teamwork of LSST. So I wanted to thank Robin and the El Conquistador staff for all the support. I also want to thank Andrew Bradshaw for taking the pictures, Emily for helping us with the website.
Okay, and we've heard all about serious work and some serious fun. There was some additional serious fun in the evenings. 12 to 20 people, about as many as some of the breakouts, I think, participated in games night. We also had a variety of other things that were associated with the meeting. We heard a lot about assembly and integration of various building blocks of the system. We had some building blocks here. We have simulations of images. I think these are a little less realistic, but in various media. And then we had simulations of things like submarines, herbivore carnivore ecologies, archaeological digs, Old West gunfights, and a lot of team building and general fun. So,
Did we miss anybody that wanted to do a breakout report? That's a no. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is, shortly after producing these wonderful screen cleaners, we recognized that we never actually gave credit to the Subaru team, and particularly Nate, for the actual origination of that image. Maybe you don't want to take credit, because after it's printed on this, it's not looking as great as it probably does in real electronic form. But anyway, we did want to at least apologize, and we learn as we go on some of these things. And do want to acknowledge that that's where this image did come from. There is you and your fellow colleagues here. We did have 333 registered. I only saw about a dozen or so registration packets that didn't get picked up. So we'll assume that we could claim that we reached over 300, which is the largest all-hands/private community workshop that we've ever had. And in a minute here, I'm pretty sure we get to an exit survey. So at this moment, what I wanted to do one more time was recognize the organizing committees. And in particular, see Melissa's all huddled up over there. You can come up with your sweatshirt on. But if we could just have Melissa come up and Rampal come up and Daniel, are you still here? We need to have you come up. I was also going to ask David to come up because he's been running around doing the IT for us all week, but he's not here today. His supervisor gave him the morning off, which I'm not, which is a great idea, but does not want to come up instead. So in recognition of the awesome work that these guys did for us in prepping for this meeting and making this meeting happen, I put a really nice gift package together. I'm sure you've never seen these before. But inside this wonderful gift package are really beautiful items, including a nice travel package. This really beautiful lens cleaner. Screen cleaner, oh, excuse me, screen cleaner, computer screen cleaner. Wonderful writing instruments, some people still write on paper. But really, the most incredible part of this is the two items that were once really exciting but never reproduced. But to recognize your dedication to LSST, we have the LSST tattoo. And also, you have to be on the project for a long time to have seen the LSST pin that I dug up for it. But it's the original LSST pin. And so to recognize your wonderful contributions, I wanted to give you this gift. Anyway, that was fun. But really, I do want to appreciate you guys, all the effort, because you don't realize how much time goes into planning for all this. This started like 6 months ago. And I don't want to diminish the other work that everybody else did to support this as well. But these guys have been at it for about 6 months, as I said, and we really appreciate it. All the people that have been running around this week, and I really want to extend my thanks to this particular group as well, because it also takes a lot of local support and a lot of work keeping everybody going, especially when there's 300 of you running around. So, next year, we are set on the date, but we don't know the exact location yet. So you can set your calendar for the 12th to the 15th of August for the Project and Community Workshop 2019. And we'll get those details out as soon as we can. We will have it somewhere here in Tucson. And lastly, exit survey. We really do look at the results and get the feedback from everybody each year so we can make it better and try to respond as best we can to your feedback. So we really encourage you to log in and just give us your thoughts of what was good, what was bad, and the other ideas, and we will try to act on it again next year. As you leave today, we do have grab-and-go lunches. In fact, it looks like they're right outside this room, not down the hall. So that's available to you, so please take one of those. And there's not necessarily anybody from the hotel here for me to extend my thanks. But maybe as you're grabbing lunches, take a moment and thank the staff, because there's also a lot of work on their part to give us meals and to make sure that we're all fed. And all that worked out really smoothly this year from our perspective. And extending those thanks to them would be appreciated as well. So thanks everybody for coming, for sticking around for the last day, and safe travels, and have a good weekend.